they're still bound in London.
Oh, okay.
All right, well, Kathy tells me that people are famous for straggling in.
Well, it said.
I said
on
sharp.
Yeah, I
Yep.
said sharp. You said that.
So, I did not advertise the pre-show this week, but I'll have one of these each time, starting at 6:30, so if you wanna show up and watch that, or at the very least, get a good seat, please do. So, welcome to what I am calling Criterion Cinema. And my name is Keith Enright. I live in 1110 with Margaret Hepper, who is not here. She's out on Long Island visiting friends this week. I brought my son with me to help me out, Drew behind us.
Hello.
You might be surprised to know that I've lived here almost 15 years. I recognize a lot of you, not all of you. And I'm hoping that I'll get to know a lot more people and be more involved in stuff with this and other things that we're doing. Margaret is on the events committee now, which is nice. She just retired, so we kind of like to say we're aging in now. I've got a couple more years of work myself. But what is Criterion Cinema? Criterion Collection is a collection of DVDs, Laserdisc, Blu-rays that I've been collecting since 2002. I'll talk a little bit more about that. I also wanted to start out just by acknowledging Helen, and I know her husband Tom did this for years. Unfortunately, I never made it to one of them, but I always knew it was around, and since it's been gone, I've kind of missed seeing those posters in the elevators. So I can take up the mantle of that. So, welcome home. So, as I mentioned, all the films are from the Criterion Collection. I want to encourage exploration. In order for this to be fun for me and to put the time into this, I want to be able to show films that are a bit off the beaten path. If you're coming here to see, the latest blockbuster or something that won an Oscar just last year, you're probably not going to find it here. We're going to look at things that are older, foreign sometimes, and hopefully you can just enjoy that exploration. This one's going to take a little bit longer, but each month I want to start out with just a little bit of information about the film we're going to watch, kind of bring up some discussion questions, so if anybody wants to hang around afterwards and discuss it for a couple minutes, that'd be great too. And since we are going to show foreign films and silent films in the future, I have chosen, even on the English films, to put subtitles on, just so that it's, sometimes the sound cannot be that great in a room like this, so maybe if that helps you out. So that's what we're going to do. So what is, make sure we're on the right slide here, yeah. So what is the Criterion Collection? The Criterion Collection started in 1984. They have released films on Laserdisc, Blu-ray, DVD, now 4K discs. There are actually 1,300 films in there already that have actual spined. What I mean by spined is each disc, like a book, has a number on it, so that for collectors like me, they get us hooked by wanting to get the next number in the list. If you're ever interested in looking at their website, it's right there. And some of you might be familiar with the Criterion Channel, which is a really good streaming service for films like this. Yes. So, in future months, I'll talk a little bit more about what Criterion is, but just know that that's where all these films come from, and I own them all. It's a sickness, but I own it. Before we get started, I do want to talk a little bit about what's coming yet this fall. In October, we're going to show a Halloween-themed film. Seemed appropriate. It's a film from 1962 called Carnival of Souls. It's a very effective, very cheaply made movie. And I will say that you may realize over the months, if you continue coming, that I'm not always showing the most competently made movies, because sometimes it's about the story behind the movie and how it was made that makes it interesting. In November, which in the film community these days has been renamed as Noir-vember, that's when everybody, film fans, watch their noir films for the year. We're going to watch a movie called Ride Pink Horse, which is a lesser known noir and actually does not take place on the gritty streets of New York, but rather in a border town in New Mexico. And in December, my theme is Holiday Ghosts, and since everybody knows Christmas Carol, we're actually going to watch a holiday or a themed holiday ghost movie about New Year's Eve. And that is called The Phantom Carriage, and that's from 1921. So prepare yourself for a silent film with some subtitles. Okay, so what are we watching tonight?
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Are these going to be the first Monday of the month or
Second
random or
Monday.
what? Second Monday, sorry, second Monday. It's always going to be the same date.
Yeah, that's the best way for me to do it. I still travel for work sometimes, so hopefully I don't mess this up, but I'm gonna do my best. So Criterion Cinema #1, come on in, find a seat. You're too late for good seats.
There's a seat up here. There's another seat up here.
Thank you.
Okay, so what are we gonna watch? My Man Godfrey. I bet you many of you have probably heard of this film. It's an English movie made in 1936. And just this information here is what the Criterion puts on all there, just so you kind of know what you're in the mood, not in the mood for, in store for you. It's a 93-minute movie. Obviously, it's black and white. And I talked about the spine numbers in the Criterion collection. This is number 114. You don't care about that, I do. So who's in this film?
William Powell.
You bet.
Carol Lombard.
William Powell, Carol Lombard, Misha Auer, Alice Brady, Eugene Pallett, and Gail Patrick. All of the first 4 of those were all nominated for an Oscar for this film. And I'll talk a little bit about that as we move along. Everybody knows William Powell. He was born in 1892, died in 1984. About 100 films between 1922 and 1955. His last film was Mr. Roberts. A lot of people know him from the Thin Man series with Myrna Loy. He actually made 14 films with her, not just the 6 or 7 Thin Man films that there were. And he was also up for 3 Academy Award nominations for The Thin Man, My Man Godfrey, and also Life of Pi. Didn't win. Carol Lombard, she was born in 1908, lived until untimely death in 1942, approximately 52 film roles in those years between 1921 and 1942. Won Academy Award nomination for this film, My Man Godfrey, and actually died during post-production on her final film, To Be or Not to Be, which is a wonderful film as well. She died in a plane crash while out selling war bonds with her mother, and other people died on that plane crash as well. Misha Auer, you may or may not recognize him if you've watched a lot of old films. He was born in 1905, lived to 1967, again won Academy Award nomination. 167 roles between 1928 and 1967. I pulled out a few that you may have heard of, and by that means I heard of them. Tarzan the Fearless, You Can't Take It With You, Destry Rides Again, Hell's a Poppin', Brewster's Millions, and then there were none. Also nominated for the Academy Award for this and never reached those heights again. Alice Brady, 1892 to 1939. Again, somewhat of an untimely death. 80 plus film roles between 1915 and 1939. One Academy Award nomination, well, two. One that she didn't get, My Man Godfrey, and one that she won 2 years later for In Chicago, Old Chicago. Interesting bit of trivia, she originated the role of Meg March in the stage version of Little Women in 1912. Eugene Pallett, one of my favorite character actors of all time. He's an amazing screen presence. Unfortunately, he was crazy as a mad hare in real life. He actually, in the last years of his life, post-World War II, was convinced the world was ending and moved to Oregon and bought a huge ranch where he basically built a bunch of underground bunkers, spent all his money on it, realized the world wasn't going to end, and came back to Hollywood, where he never had another role and died. Some film roles you might know him in, The Love Parade, Huckleberry Finn, Topper. He played Friar John or Tuck, I don't remember which, in The Adventures of Robin Hood. Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, The Lady Eve, and Heaven Can Wait. And then the last person we're going to talk about in the cast, Gail Patrick, 1911 to 1980, 67 film roles between 32 and 48. Stage Door, Dangerous to Know, My Favorite Wife, Brewster's Millions. She had an amazing second career and actually became a very rich woman because she was the executive producer of the Perry Mason series on TV. She was the one that convinced Earl Stanley Gardner to allow it to be on TV, and they both became very rich. And she also had a career, or a stint as the VP of the National Academy of Television Arts and Sciences. So very, very accomplished, even beyond her career. This movie is directed by Gregory LaCava, screenplay by Maury Riskind and Eric Hatch, based on Eric Hatch's novel 1101 Park Avenue. Bit of a sad story with Gregory LaCava. He was born in 1892, lived only to 1952, which makes him my age, so that hurts. 38 films between 1921 and 1948. He was actually an animator before a film director. Worked on the Katzenjammer Kids for William Hurst. Co-wrote all his films with no credit. And interesting piece, he directed and drank with W.C. Fields. He was quite a drinker. In fact, when they were starting filming, and so was William Powell, you may know, when they were starting work on the film, they were having a disagreement on how Godfrey should be portrayed in the film. Gregory LaCava had one point of view, William Powell had another. They decided to get together one night and just hash it out over drinks, and they got so drunk that the next day a telegram came to the set from William Powell that said, "Good news, you found your Godfrey. Bad news, you've lost your Powell. See you in 3 days." So. Maury Riskin was the writer of the screenplay. I don't need to go over this too much, but he did have Academy Award nominations for My Man Godfrey and Stage Door. And also was a co-writer on a lot of the Marx Brothers vehicles. To be honest with you, he doesn't look that funny in this picture, but apparently he was. And then the writer of the book is Eric Hatch. He was a writer, novelist, and screenwriter, staff writer for the New York Magazine, co-screenwriter of Sidewalks of New York and My Man Godfrey and Topper. And some of you remember a not so great Disney film from the 60s called The Horse and the Great Flood of Soup. He wrote the novel that that was based on as well. All right, we're almost ready to start. Trivia. So this had 6 Academy Award nominations with 0 wins. The 4 actors and actresses that I just told you about, as well as Maury Riskin for the screenplay and Gregory LaCava for direction, not nominated for Best Picture. This film has been deemed culturally significant by the National Film Registry and is on many best of film lists of the 20th century. It was remade in 1957 with David Niven and June Allison. And another interesting bit of, I'll call it trivia, but it's really more gossip. Powell and Lombard had divorced 3 years earlier, but remained great friends. Powell insisted upon her co-starring with him or no deal. And the most trivial of trivia that I could come up with, you're going to see some scenes at the beginning of this movie of Hooverville with unemployed homeless people living at Sutton Place under the 59th Street Bridge. My brother-in-law lived there in his better days. So, for those of you that want to stick around afterwards to talk about it a little bit, if you'd like, tips and themes. Now, this is a screwball comedy from 1936, right? Screwball comedy kind of came out of the Depression, with the Depression, women's rights, the sound films. I can wait. Okay, we set? All right. So I was talking a little bit about how screwball comedy came around. So, you know, it's a fast-moving dialogue in this type of film, so the subtitles may help you a bit. And kind of watch for what is said and what is not said in this movie. I mean, one of the things that I love about old films, you know, I abhor censorship, but when you have it, it's amazing the clever dialogue that they use to get around those type of restrictions. Think about some of the Depression era stuff. Prosperity is just around the corner. The Forgotten Man in Hoovervilles. Irresponsible wealth and class inequality. And then the question I'll be asking at the end is, what actually changes at the end, right? And the reason I picked this film is for its class conflicts type theme, with this being Labor Day month and all of that. So, we're going to get started with the movie. Like I said, it's 93 minutes. Drew will turn the lights down, and forgive us if we have to adjust the volume a little bit. This is a new room to us, so we'll make sure everything is as good as can be. Go ahead, Drew.